Oh,
Hi.
I'm Torrance, if you don't know me.
How are you, Torrance?
I'm good. I'm good.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed watching the playback of your live stream the other day.
oh, you did?
Yeah,
How'd you like it?
it was great. Congrats.
Thank, thank you.
And welcome to our second Black Table Talk of the semester. Today we have Jherrard Hardeman, the assistant conductor of the RPYO. First, we can go around and everybody can introduce themselves just so we can start the conversation. Is that somebody trying to? Oh. So, would you like to start, Arthur? Arthur?
Oh, okay.
Just introduce yourself.
I'm Arthur. I'm Viola. I'm a violist. From South Carolina. And you? Oh, I'm a junior. Undergrad violist. Yeah. I like shells. Sorry.
Seashells are.
What's your?
My name is Lindsay McCray. I am a current student here at Eastman studying double bass. I am a senior. And I'm also from South Carolina.
Awesome. I saw you in the concert. Yeah. Alexis.
Hi, my name is Alexis Prescott. I'm a master's student here at Eastman. My instrument is voice, and I'm studying music education. And I am 17 days away from my degree.
Congrats.
Congrats.
Yeah.
I'm counting.
You're counting down.
I am. Brendan.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Jackson. Garrett knows me,
How's it going, Jackson?
but just taking pictures today.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Kayla Sconyers. I'm a senior vocalist and an arts leadership certificate candidate, and I'm from Lakeland, Florida.
Wonderful.
Miles, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. First year French horn major.
Awesome. Awesome. Two of my friends just got jobs in Nashville.
Really?
Will Leathers and.
Oh, yeah. I know Will. I haven't met him before, but I don't know. Chandler.
Yeah. What?
No, Will's trumpet. Chandler's
Tuba. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Bekim. I played saxophone senior high school. And I'm the president of the BSUE.
Sweet. Sweet. Excellent. Cool.
So I guess to go ahead and start, we just like to know a little bit about you, your background, how you got here, and just your aims for RPO education-wise and as a whole, the organization, the orchestra. Like what you hope to get from the experience.
Yeah.
You can start with just your background. It's okay.
Oh yeah. Like that's very broad and very deep at the just at the beginning. But I'm Jherrard. I'm from Michigan. I grew up in Detroit until I was 10, and then we moved out to Birmingham and Beverly Hills, Michigan, for middle school and high school. I went to undergrad at the Laundry School of Music in Cambridge, and then grad school at Juilliard, and then I spent a year in Kansas City studying with a teacher out there, and now I'm here. That's a bit of the background. I started, my primary instrument was violin, and ended up going from there to composing in 7th grade and then conducting in 8th grade. It was actually a really wonderful experience. I brought one of my pieces to camp, and asked the conductor if we could read through it, and she looked at the score. It was a hot mess, and said, "Okay, we can do this next Wednesday, but you have to conduct it." So she was like, "Study your score, figure out everything you want to accomplish with the time. I'll give you a little bit of time." So it's just one of those experiences where as soon as it happened, it was kind of like a duck to water, and it just made sense. It was like, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be, encouraging my friends to have fun and make music together. And I don't know, it's just it dawned on me that orchestra is not just fun, but it's also there are certain things that can just happen in here that can't happen anywhere else. So that was kind of what sparked it. And then all throughout high school, I just went look for opportunities to conduct this, wherever I could, asked every teacher that I had, if I could spend a little bit of time with whatever group it was. And started a chamber orchestra in undergrad, and we had a concert at the end of each semester basically, because it was back in Michigan and we were all over the place. So I was in Boston, and there were some people in San Francisco and some people at U of M, which was really good. But it was just and then down the line ended up finally being able to study. So that's a little bit about my background. Yeah.
I mean, I can switch the second question around. I have written here just for you to describe exactly what the assistant conductor's role in the orchestra is.
Sure.
Specifically on RPYO.
Yeah, so it's kind of an all hats kind of thing. So the assistant conductor is mostly there to listen in the hall and be another set of ears for the conductor. So if there's any kind of balance issues in Kodak, then I'm the one who kind of gives those notes to Andreas and says, the trumpets are too loud, sorry. The brass are too loud here, or the winds are too loud here, or actually the strings are covering up the singer, or when we had Renee Fleming, for instance, it was a similar situation where you're not going to, the orchestra is super eager at the beginning of the season to play and deliver, and she's singing German and you can't hear any consonants coming through in the audience, and you think, this is not so good. So of course the little other note, bar 36 through 40, just we need less brass. Bar 77 to 80, strings are just way too much there. So a lot of it's that, but then I also get to work with the Rochester Philharmonic Youth Orchestra. That's my baby in a sense. So I get to choose the music for them. I get to lead all the rehearsals for that, all the concerts. We have one tomorrow at Hochstein in the evening, and really design a curriculum for them that I think will give them the tools that they need after graduating from high school to live life in a productive manner, whether it is they go into music or not. So that's the other part of my gig. And then there's the part with the RPO that includes all the run out concerts and holiday concerts and education concerts, which I put together programs for any number of kinds of events. And we did a care and wellness thing last week. The things are all blurring together now, where we went to two senior sound like very old age kinds of places, and played music for these folks, and they were just so appreciative of us being there and sharing music with them, and those kinds of things are really touching. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, I get 14 different concerts with them, not including their summer series in July. So it's like plenty on my plate for the RPO side of things as well, which is, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better job out of grad school. I wanted the professional gig and also to be involved in education somehow, and to be able to marry those two this early on it's really good. It's really good.
It seems like they trust you with a lot there with the.
I appreciate it, and it's great because I have such great colleagues who are able to help me see what has been done, but not pigeonhole me into doing what has been done, and say we can explore anything. This is kind of the model that we've been using for a while, but we can go in another direction if you see fit. So that's really nice. Yeah.
I forgot to mention, if anybody has questions, feel free to insert yourself. So after every question I ask, I'll probably open it up to the room. Do y'all have anything right now? You don't have to.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Mr. President.
Is this your first year as president?
Yes, it is.
No, you're being used to it. At launch, I actually started the BSU there because it was a very small school. So we had, I think, 250 students total. but there were 13 or 14 of us
Mhm.
there. And I was like, you know what, I think that's enough to declare a quorum. I think that's good. So, your questions.
Yeah, I was just wondering, where did your like love for classical music like derive from?
I have no idea.
You don't know.
I can't tell you. So when I was 7, I decidedly said that I was going to grow up and become a rock star and a roller coaster designer. And so for my birthday, my mom got me, well, my entire family pitched in to get me an electric guitar with a little pocket amp and a strap that had flames all on it.
Yes.
I was getting ready for that. And then all of a sudden I went, we changed from Catholic schools to Detroit public schools at the time. And there was a string program in the school that I was going to that they didn't offer guitar. So I had to pick up something else. I said, well, violin looks close enough. You know, God, the noises that I made on that. I'm glad that if I can barely remember them with the memory that I have, that I know that I have, that means that it must have been pretty bad. And I was just tuning it out so that I could get back to my guitar playing at any point. So the early years are still very much a blur. I still remember what my playing sounded like in 7th grade when I came back from camp and was a lot better because I've been practicing 6 hours a day. So yeah, I couldn't tell you where it necessarily began. I think it was just an overall love for music and harmony. I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I just loved the sound of interesting harmonies or not interesting. I mean, just hearing a chord being played, it was just like magic. And I don't know, you know, I talked about trying to teach with the youth orchestra, and I, you know, even tutored theory students in undergrad and grad school. And that whole thing of trying to develop a close and personal relationship with what harmony and rhythm means to us, I think is what ends up setting a lot of people apart. That, you know, you have jazz players come up and say like, oh man, that C7 flat 13 chord is butter. And you know, in your brain, you're trying to reconstruct the chord or everything, but they've somehow, this person has somehow internalized what that means. For me, it's the sound of major 4 in a minor key. It just gets me every time. And I don't know what it is about that, but it feels like falling in love. And so I think it's just been a music thing. I think it's just been a sound thing from the beginning. Does that answer your question?
That's
Yeah, Miles.
Oh yeah, I have a question. So I wanted to know how someone in high school would start to fill out their conducting resume, because I know a lot of high schoolers are either in band or strings.
Right.
I haven't seen a lot get up on the podium conducting in high school. So.
Yeah, well, you have to kind of have the bug to do, because a lot of people don't think that, you know, it's like you have a director and that's the person up there. And if you didn't second guess it, you can make it all 4 years without asking yourself a question. I wonder what it'd be like at my birthday. Sometimes, and I think sometimes it's just, you know, the director will make room, or in band, you'll have drum majors. And so some people will get the experience of what it's like to beat through time and have people reacting to that. But it's not the same as changing things in time and having people react to that, or changing the sound in time. You know, you're just kind of there as a steady presence. So, you know, if somebody were to have the bug and were to really want to do it, you just have to ask. I mean, it's the daunting thing, but I think taking that first step already shows an amount of initiative that, you know, you can't get up there without, in some ways, feeling like you need to be up there. And so you have to take the appropriate steps to do it. My good, amazing colleague in Detroit, Nazir McFadden, same thing. I mean, if the door was closed in front of him, he'd either, you know, go to a different door or kick that door down. I mean, it's not, you know, and that's, you know, he's one of the youngest conductors to ever win. I think the youngest in Detroit's history for sure to win that assistantship. And that doesn't happen by passively waiting for someone to give you something. just have to, kind of ask. It doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it. It's gonna use a much worse word than jerk, but I had to stop myself. It doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it, some level of persistence, or you might not even need it at all if you're in a really supportive environment. If it was one of my students who asked, like, hey, I want to know about conducting, I'd literally give them everything that I knew and say, are you sure you want to do this with your life? I mean, it is the fast road to alcoholism and and maybe some not so healthy habits in life. I mean, if they say yes, it's like, all right, that's how you take care of yourself. Yeah, that's it's just about the ask and about knowing how to. From there, you have to figure out a whole lot of extra stuff.
For somebody who does have that bug that you talked about,
Yeah.
do you have any tips for what the audition committee for conductors is looking for in the assistant conductor?
Yeah, it's different everywhere. The biggest thing that I can say that is going to be useful everywhere is just be a collaborator. If you're fresh out of undergrad or grad school, and and I get it because I'm this opinionated about so much that I have my agenda items that I need to meet, and for myself, there are certain pieces of music, certain initiatives, certain things that I want to see happen in the world that I know if I wanted to be a jerk and push these all at the front that I could, but being able to take it one step at a time and say, okay, well, I'm really interested in doing this, but I'm open to, I know that this thing is true about your community, and seeing if we can maybe do something like that, or you guys usually do this kind of concert. I think I could be really helpful with that. Trying to be a good collaborator, and you're there to help whatever organization fulfill its mission, and then offer your little spark that you also contribute. It's a tough thing because you want the entire, you want to show everything, like a peacock showing its feathers. You want to spread your wings and show everyone what you can do. And in a sense, it's a time thing. And it's like what Marcellus says about, it's like, I love, the sound of the trumpet. In fact, I think more trumpet is always the answer. Not everybody likes it when you use it on them, but they're not always ready for it. But he has to also think about what the rest of the band wants, and it's and what the audience actually needs to hear. I mean, that's the thing. So anyone auditioning for a job, the biggest thing is just be a collaborator.
Yeah.
Be a collaborator. Be open to trying other ideas and seeing how your vision for what you want to do can also be laced in with what job you're going for. The other thing is, I wouldn't apply for a job that I didn't think was going to have opportunities for that kind of. If I thought that there was a job that, they just want someone in the hall listening for balance, and that's it, and I don't get to do anything else, and it's like, okay, well, I can be a warm body in the room. You could put a task cam out there and have it record the rehearsal and listen back and give you the, but a job like this that opened up, which said you can do the education thing, you would not believe how much that was such a deal maker for me. There's another job that was open at the time that was offered to me, and it was a similar position, and it was like an embarrassment of riches because I was like, well, which one do I go with? They both offer this kind of thing where I can contribute, and it just so happened that this one was closer to my family, and that was the deciding factor. So.
Yeah, I think it also might be important to look for some place that needs to grow in certain areas.
Sure.
And I feel like you're helping RPO grow in certain areas through like community engagement and things like that.
Yeah, it feeds both. It's a what's it called, a mutually beneficial relationship where they are giving me so much that I can grow, and hopefully I'm also giving the community as much as I can. So, it's all just being a contribution.
Also, RPYO seems to be growing a lot. I've seen them on Instagram a lot recently.
Yeah.
I saw them post a video with you talking about how to inspire students to learn that skills and traits from music and apply them into other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
How do you get your students in the RPYO orchestra to sort of take those values from you or from the music?
I can't. I give them as much as I can, and at the end of the day, it's their decision what they want to do with it. What I can do is tell them, aside from your music, your instrument, your binder, your pencil, you need to bring a notebook to rehearsal. I can tell them that. I can have them write down whatever prompt I have on the board in their notebook, which I do every week. I give them another prompt to write down, and we pair it with a short video clip that is kind of related to that. And then, but I can't explicitly, after they've written down the prompts, for instance, one of them was the beginning of this concert cycle was, what methods do you use to find common ground with others? And we paired that with Wynton Marsalis's Harvard lecture on the meaning of swing and how swing is all about compromise. And on every single beat of a song, you're compromising with every other person in the room on where to play and how to play. And it's a huge discussion that everyone should leave this, this feeling somehow empowered. And we don't have time to have a huge discussion in rehearsal, like, and so what did that all mean? What did you write down in your, so they write it down, they might write down some thoughts underneath it, we watch the video, and it's okay, and back to rehearsal. And maybe they think about it for the rest of their lives. Maybe they dust this off in 30 years and look at it and say, oh. Or maybe they dust it off in 45 years and say, yeah, this guy was bonkers. I don't know why he had it writing all this stuff down. I had life figured out at age 14 and, but hopefully some of the questions will really stick with them. So. Yeah, please.
So prior to the position that you have now, how did you balance your passion for education with your passion for conducting as well? Were there times where you were doing one more than the other, or did you have a pretty good balance until you got here to where, I think you said like the two interests are perfectly married now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how was that balance like before you got here?
Yeah, it's very cool because this is literally my first job out of grad school. So everything up until then, there were some exceptions, but it was like when I turned 18 in undergrad, one of the youth orchestras that was around in my area, Michigan, called me and asked me to fill in for any conductor whenever they were absent. And so I, spend a lot of time going back and forth between Michigan and Boston in my undergrad just to work with the youth orchestra, which was really useful. And then I had my chamber orchestra, which was largely made up of conservatory students. And we wanted to be more of a young kind of professional ensemble. So that was always there. And I was always studying for that thing. So I think it's kind of been, everything's been happening all at once and going in the same direction, but nothing has been like a singular position that does both. That's what it is here now, but everything's always been, sub at youth orchestras, and then, when I was 20 or 21, 20, I was in the Boston Symphony's, Boston Pops' conducting competition. And that was fun because you get like 5 minutes in front of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and you're like, oh yeah, this is another level. Like I'm just finishing up my sophomore year here, and yeah, that's different than the conservatory orchestra by a clear mile. And so something like that happens, and then then grad school comes along, and you're in New York City and working with these just amazing musicians, and it's like, well, this is basically like a professional grad wouldn't, we're not teaching them notes and rhythms here, well, sometimes if the piece is complicated enough. And at the end of that, program, I had even gotten the chance to conduct the Seattle Symphony. And so it's just kind of been both things are happening, but never simultaneously together. And so now I'm really grateful that that's the case.
May I ask you a
Oh,
follow-up
please.
question too? So you mentioned how you got this job right out of grad school,
Yeah.
and I've just been burning to ask you
Okay.
what it's like to achieve such an impressive role so young. I just find that, I mean, me, like I said, I'm 17 days away.
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
graduating, so I'm
Counted the seconds.
so I'm just, you know, I mean, I see you and I'm just so inspired, and I wonder, like, what is it like to be so young but in such a impressive position?
Honestly, I'd say I feel the pressure more than anything. The students that I grew up with who were very supportive and kind, were so congratulatory, and like, you must be so excited. You get to, you know, have a really great orchestra and a youth orchestra. And it's like, yeah, I'm very excited, but there's so much that I hope I do. I just don't hope I screw it up somehow, inadvertently, shove my foot in my mouth somehow, do anything that pisses people off. You know, it's unavoidable. I mean, the thing is that when you're taking decisive steps, you're going to hurt someone's feelings along the way, whether or not that, you know, is even like, you know, it's us. There are certain people who just have bitter feelings about anything that happens positively for us. And so just having to be okay with, all right, well, if I make a mistake, I know that I'm in a place that my colleagues will help me correct it. And that was also one of the biggest things about deciding this job. Like, the administration, you know, James and Barbara are just so incredibly helpful with just guiding me away from certain kinds of third rails not to touch. Like, oh, when you're in rehearsal with the orchestra, the last guy that did this, we're never inviting that person back. Got it. I'll steer clear of that one. Yeah, education concerts. You know, the kids really like this. If you don't engage them, then, you know, they're just going to become noisy and distracted and unengaged with the performance. Oh, good to know. Let me do some more of this stuff and put my own little spin on it. You know, they looked at the program and for the Halloween concert and saw heightened surprise and being like, kids, hiding? Are you sure? I was like, yeah, but they're gonna scream boo at all the surprise. And so, you know, just little things where it's like, you know, and you would not, I mean, your ears would have been ringing after this. You were there, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, it allows you to be goofy. And even we did AC's Death from Peer Gynt, super slow and, you know, lyrical string piece. And it's like, okay, that's 5 minutes of slow music. It's like, yeah, they can pretend to be ghosts. The line goes up and they'll just raise their hand like a, you know, like a, and you know, somehow they didn't do, and toward the end they were actually pretty silent. So it's just one of those things where I felt a lot more pressure to not screw up, because especially with the youth orchestra, that if you don't get it right, that this is precious time that they could have done a lot of transformation. At least that was for me. Youth orchestra is a hugely transformative thing. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to really deliver for them every week. Yeah, please.
Well, yeah, kind of a follow-up question from that. And this might be a little bit of a weird question, but going off of like the whole like younger aspect of things, do you find yourself being like challenged a lot because of that?
I did when I was in high school, and there was a very specific conductor that it was such a funny experience. I went to him just like my normal spiel. I asked for the opportunity, and he came back with, "Well, can you read 4-part Bach for us at the piano?" on open score, and I was like, no, but I think I have a good sense of how to work with an orchestra. And he was like, well, you can't be a conductor unless you have good piano skills. I still to this day can barely play chopsticks. No,
That's
No.
bad.
you know, and it was like, you know, and it was like, wait, you also compose, right? So your guitar skills must be amazing. And I'm okay at guitar. I can play, you know, songs. I can play Blackbird if I wanted to, but it's not like I'm playing, you know, like grand orchestral scores. I'm not, you know, John Williams or anything, you know. And so it's like, you know, no, but I know that there's something here, and it's something when your colleagues are acknowledging every time you get off the podium, wow, that was really fun. I actually, you know, felt like engaged. It's just with the other thing that was in high school, that kids are like, okay, somebody else is on the podium. It's a fresh voice, and that's really what it is. It's not that I was bringing anything super special, but we did have fun. And we did also get work done. And it was, you know, the whole thing of saying, this can be both at the same time. So when he said what he said, I just kind of started to stand there and it's fine. I don't have to, you know. And so after that year was, and it's funny because, you know, he had been at that for quite some time. Halfway through the year, he announced he was leaving his job. So, you know, any number of things can go into people giving you certain responses. Me being what, 15 or 16 at the time, you know, he had his response, and then later on in that year, you know, he retired, and I got to conduct the Chicago Sinfonietta. I mean, and that's in the same academic year. So it's yes, it does happen, but not well. This was when I was in high school, but just, you know, but when that does happen, it's not necessarily about focusing on this person said no, but finding the yes maybe somewhere else, or if you have the patience. And with him, I knew that door was just closed, and he didn't want to open the door. If someone kind of cracks it for you, then finding the way in the door to, you know, create a deep relationship is always the most valuable thing. Same thing when, you know, my mom showed me Florence Price and Chevalier when I was 13. She did research and found these people before anybody was even talking about these composers. And then, you know, I went on and found William Grant Still, and I was like, this is my guy. This is my guy, you know? So from that point, I was like, how do I get these people's music played? There's that, you know, you look at the Detroit Symphony season from back then, and it was, you know, like mayonnaise on white bread. And you just say, oh my gosh, this is, you know, this music sounds great. Why, you know, it's an 80% Black city. Why aren't we playing any of those composers? And so it just very quietly just kept notes to myself. I was like, okay, well, these are composers I really love. Whenever I get a chance to do that, it's not my place to change them at that time. I was learning from them at that time. So I was like, teacher-student relationship, I can turn you on to this, but if you don't, you know, from after that, that's all you. If you don't want to do it, I will. And I'm going to make sure I make a good case for it and make you want to do it later on. So.
Next, we have a question from somebody on Zoom.
Oh, great.
Torrance, you can go ahead and ask your question or comment. Oh, hi, I'm Torrance. I was just wondering, is there any sacrifices you made in grad school that got you to where you are now?
Say that again?
You mentioned that you had got your job right after grad school. I was wondering, was there any sacrifices that you made that got you where you were?
Oh, interesting. So
like
actually,
during grad school.
this is a good point. This actually was, so it's my first job out of grad school. It's not, I didn't get this job while I was in grad school. This is where it gets kind of interesting. After grad school ended at Juilliard, I told my teacher very clearly, I am not ready for anything at this point. I know that I have made good progress all throughout grad school, but there's so much stuff that I can see and still feel inside of me that's not ready. It's not, even close to being cooked enough to put something out there. So after grad school, I went to Kansas City and went there to basically study with another teacher for an indeterminate amount of time. I was going to be there for 5 years, do a whole master's and a doctorate there, because it was another situation of, I know that this is my guy. He's an amazing teacher, years of experience teaching conducting, and focuses on all the things that I can feel in my body change the sound, but also the level of trust the orchestra has for you. And I got a lot of that from Juilliard, but it didn't happen for me fast enough there. It's 2 years. It's, you know, you can't expect a miracle, no matter how hard you try. So I knew that I wanted to take my time and really internalize this stuff. So about halfway through the fall semester, something kind of changed for me where it said, actually, you get like, I went to this teacher and he answered about 70 to 80% of my questions that I had. And for some reason I was like, actually, that's enough. That's enough for now. You can take that and you're going to keep digging, you're going to keep learning, but it's the time now to really start putting your best foot out there and show the world what you have. And so the job opened up here. There's another job that opened up as well, and also a school that I said, you know what, if I'm up on the East Coast somewhere, then I want to also make sure I have that door open, some communication open, to being able to receive feedback on a consistent basis. So it just so happened that it worked out that this job happened, and New England Conservatory also worked out, that I can go there and take lessons every Monday and also work. It's a lot of miles, which is great, but it's exhausting, but it's really worth it. So the sacrifice was that people thought I was going to leave at New York and the East Coast and completely disappear off the map. And I might have, I don't know. I still got some engagements to, you know, assist in DC and in Sacramento, and I was in my fellowship program with the Chicago Sinfonietta too. So it wasn't like I wasn't busy, but a lot of folks and a lot of teachers thought, oh, you're going off the face of the planet, and who knows if you'll reemerge, or, you know, if the time has supposedly passed. I was like, that's all. Your time passing is all bull. Like it's your time is whenever you say. It's like that's yeah.
Thank you for asking a question, Tori.
Does that answer it for you?
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I was wondering, what your involvement was in the Around the Town series concert that RPYO did at Mount Olivet.
Yeah.
Was anybody there? No. Well, you can describe it for us all, because I wasn't able to go, but I saw the program and it was really celebrating Black composers.
Yeah.
As well as like there was some Dvorak and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering what
Black adjacent. You hear Dvorak's use of rhythm and you're just like, no, hold on. Whose church did you wander into? I gotta know. You know, there's some things like at the end of Finlandia too, when Sibelius it's like, oh come on now, oh come on, I can't believe it. You're not just finished. You went somewhere. You went somewhere. There's no way. That's too much offbeat game. Not even Tchaikovsky had that, you know.
Yeah. Back to the question.
Oh yeah.
And there was also a lot of guest artists on that
Yeah.
project too, right?
Yeah.
And just the location. I was wondering what went into planning that event, and also if you received any feedback from the audience or from people involved in the concert.
Yeah, so the event at Mount Olivet was it was our Community Specials 1 concert, and it was kind of the brainchild of my supervisor, James Berry. who thought, well, the RPO is turning 100, and the oldest Black church in Rochester, Mount Olivet, is turning 150. They're in their 150th year. And like, wouldn't it be great if we were able to go into that space somehow and be there? And I this was hashed out before I even got here. I think he had wanted all these pieces to kind of fall into place, and it just so happened that it did, where he basically went there over the summer and just asked them, okay, the RPO came here, what would you want it to look like? I mean, what the pastor of the church was like, it'd be nice if I could narrate over a piece of classical music, say a narration. It's like, yeah, we can do that. Absolutely, it'd be nice to have a singer. Oh, yeah. What about Kirsten Piper Brown? I mean, she's a Rochester native. She's amazing. And we've worked with her before, and they're like, did you get Kirsten? But like, hold on one sec. We called her agent, and it was like, yeah, we got it. What else? And they're like, that's really, that's great. And so the rest of it was kind of on our end, and this is where, again, my job, the offer was too good, having the 14 concerts. I also have autonomy over the program. So to an extent, I mean, it's still a collaboration, but I basically suggest my wish list, and then they can say, what about this instead of that? Or this week, you know, just a heads up front, you have this much money for rentals and that's it. So, you know, spend wisely for this concert. And it's usually about $500 to $600 that I get for a rental, depending on the program and it, you know, what kind of tickets they already project coming in. Might be a little bit more, might be closer to 1,000. So I can say, okay, well, what about this piece? This piece that'll work really well. And there were already quite a few pieces on that program that were just in the RPO's library. So I kind of just got to put the whole thing together and say, okay, well, you know, if Kirsten wants to sing Hale Smith's African American Spirituals, that's great. That gives me a kind of thing to go off of here where I say, all right, we can connect so many dots with spiritual. We can say there's a kind of a vocal theme with it, but there's also, I mean, what do spirituals make you think of? And this ended up being the whole thing for the entire Around the Town week. What spirituals make you think of home, where you grew up, of the people that gave you all of the care that they had to give. And that ended up being the theme for the entire concert and the entire week, of just what does home sound like? What does it feel like? What does it feel like in as many places as we can, you know, imagine? And then for the Mount Olivet concert, it really was a celebration of what the church home has given its community. And so, you know, we had Amazing Grace on the program, of course, and we had the audience singing along. Jeff Tysick did a beautiful arrangement that would make you think he was Corngold's son somehow. Yeah, yeah, in there somewhere. It's like, oh, that's really Disney. That's no. But you know, it was just all of these things that kind of just fit together and said, okay, I think we have something that will really move us. And of course, my mom came in, and so the fact that William Grant Still's Mother and Child, I programmed that, and she was there, and I was like ready to, okay, all right, well, and that was the piece that was narrated, and the narration was made by Dr. Battle, just at the George Walker Center. Gorgeous narration. I mean, if you have a chance to read it, it's only about a page long, and it's just super touching. And so, you know, that with Mother and Child and George Walker's lyric for strings, which was written for his grandmother, all these aspects just came together. So it ended up being a really moving experience. And the feedback I've gotten was overwhelmingly positive from those who attended. If you've ever been to one of these concerts, you'll see me after the concert's over. I rush over near the door so that I can shake literally everyone's hand before they leave the place. And you just see, like, you know, kids' eyes lighting up and parents, you know, and sometimes in tears and sometimes just like, wow, you know, we've never even imagined a classical concert like that. So it's really heartwarming to see that kind of response.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Kind of like piggybacking on what you said about how the people who you performed for, their faces were lighting up and stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to know your perspective on how to get more of our people to Rochester Philharmonic concerts, because I recently wrote an essay about it, and I hinted like the concerts are pretty secluded, like inside of the building. You gotta pay $15 to get in, and not many people around this area comes to the concert. So I wanted to know what you thought about like how to get more people out there.
Yeah, I think you have to go to them. I don't know that you're gonna get. You know, you can have amazing programs, whatever, and still not necessarily reach a community. I think you have to first earn the trust of the community. And I think the only way you do that is like through events like the one at Mount Olivet, where you say, this is a free concert, come on in, you know, but we're not just gonna perform our, you know, standard canon for you. We're going to try to make this relate back to whatever you're experiencing. And in the program, it was funny. I had gone to the church service the night before, and they didn't know I was going to show up at the thing. And it was one of the most moving services I've ever seen. This pastor got up there and lit the entire room on fire with this idea of basically trying to mobilize the community to do the things they really want to do, to not accept what's given to them, basically. Like, if nobody's gonna clean up the street except for us. Nobody's going to do this stuff except, it's us. We have to take care of our own, and we have to do all this stuff. And it was funny because when I put this program together, I ended the program with a really fiery piece by Coleridge Taylor. And I was like, and I could not imagine a better piece to end this program after the service that we had last night, which was all about hope in the time of, they called it the disrepair, disrespect, and this kind of a piece that reminds you that there's a fire inside of you to act and to change things in the world, whatever they may be, however big or small you may perceive them to be, that it matters. And the pastor, who wasn't preaching the night before, but was there, the pastor of the church, said, how you connected the program back to the message. I had no idea. I said, how you connected the message to me, because I just put the program together, but then the fact that those things lined up, there's something that's special. I think that's unspoken between all of us, hopefully all of us, that you just know. And so when you go into these spaces, you try to listen and get a sense of what people need to be, what they're looking to get out of it. And you just put your heart out there, and you hope that it's the right thing. Sometimes it's not. And the Detroit Symphony did something similar to this as well. They went to Perfecting Church, where Marvin Winans is the pastor. They performed a concert there. I can only assume that was a moving experience. I mean, they had a whole gospel choir and everything, and it was, these are the steps that need to be taken first. And then you need to say from there, oh, you like this, you got to check out Gateways too. You like this, you got to check out this and this. Okay, oh, yeah, and over the time, people will, oh, you have to, why not, have your kid play an instrument, sign up for voice lessons, sign up for anything, get them involved. We have tons of programs here with all this kind of support. Let's have a conversation. And then over time, as we see that this music thing changes the way that kids view life and the way that kids view, what's possible, then I think we earn the respect, and we start to have that kind of thing where Venezuela has, where it's like, oh, music is just there, it's just there. And we have that for us on the popular side of things. We know what music is going to be played at the cookout, no matter what. You show up to your grandma's house, you know what's going to be playing on the radio. But then to say, okay, now let's also have our, let's not just have it end there. Let's have, as much kinds of Black music represented in our day-to-day lives as possible. So, That, I don't know that it starts with the big hall. I think it starts with going, bring a string quartet into school, let them touch the instruments and see what they like. School 19, I was just over there. All Black children in the Strings for Success program, all playing violin, and they're going to play with the Rochester Philharmonic on December 7th, our Magic of Giving concert in Hogstein. All Black children, you know, and just the cutest faces you have ever seen, right? And they're doing incredibly well as beginners, but you know, all the, like, you can tell their teachers are really good because they're basically in tune. They know where, you know, how to hold the bow, and it's just like, okay, well, where's more of this? You know, like, let's. And if parents can see that this is working and that they can have these performances, then they'll buy in more. So, yeah, but you have to meet people where they are. Yeah. There's no, the hall isn't the answer. I really wish it, because that's so easy for us too, right? Like, oh yeah, we have a space, just come out, you know, you take all the risk and I'll reap all the reward, you know? It has to be a partnership.
I'm sure that Strings for Success ensemble is gonna be memorized.
Yeah, they're already memorized.
Yeah.
No, that's just how they do it. Yes.
So, I was just gonna ask, more on Rochester itself, how are you enjoying Rochester?
It's good. It's good. You live in the same building. Yeah. It's a 3-minute walk. It's delightful. I basically a job is every other day. That's where I think about too much of my paycheck goes to just shots of espresso. Which is fine. It could be worse. It could be shots of something else, right? So that'd be much more expensive. Yeah.
How does the community here, when you're like going out to the community, performing, doing engagement events and stuff, how does it differ from other places you've done this?
Yeah, it's interesting because this, you know, I spent a little bit of time in Chicago, spent a little bit of time, a lot of time in Boston. This is closer to being a Midwest city, even though we're technically in New York. The mannerisms of people is still very Midwestern, so it's interesting to see the differences in the more gregarious East Coast kinds of people who are just not shy at all, will tell you exactly what they're thinking, helpful or not, versus people who are a little bit, you know, just the best kind of, you know, I really appreciated what you had to give. We hope we can get you for as long as we can, but your career should, and it's like, it's really sweet kinds of interactions like that. And it's like, yeah, this is amazing. What else do you want to, you know, what else do you want to see? What else do you want to, you know, it's so much easier than like in Boston, in Chicago. I mean, there are lots of things already there. And so that's nice to see. But here it feels like there's a real kind of fertile ground for a lot of new stuff to pop up and people to just kind of want to go with it. So that's kind of the difference that I've gotten here, is that people are more curious about things more so than like, we do this a certain way, and that's how we do it. That's how we've always done it. That's how we're gonna do it. That's how we're gonna keep doing it till it stops working. It's like, okay, all right, we'll see how long that lasts. Yeah. Yes, please.
Saying that so looking forward in life.
Yeah.
And like the trajectory of RPO, what do you hope to like see in the future with your influence and your education? What do you hope to see come out of like RPO, the RPYO?
Yeah, the RPYO specifically, that was something that from the moment we inherited because the RPYO was a separate thing, and then it was reabsorbed into the RPO as an organization. And so there were a lot of changes that just happened this year in consultation with our VP of Education, and then also my decisions that they just said, yeah, you're the music director, we're gonna go with you. One of the things was programming. I looked at the previous programs and I said, well, this is cute. We have like, two diverse pieces in our season, and you can tell that that's why they're there, because the concert says turning to diverse composers, and then it's like, okay, all right, it's an attempt, and like, and it's not to trash anything, but it's to say, oh, okay, this is an educational void that has not been fulfilled. We simply haven't, and it's amazing to have all these American kids never play the note of American music. I mean, and so we're doing a William Grant Still Symphony tomorrow, and in the first couple of rehearsals, it was funny because I came in, I said, okay, who listens to the symphony? And they'll all admit, because they're very honest, that none of them had listened to the symphony in the first two rehearsals. I said, oh, well, our sectionals next week, I highly recommend going back and listening to the symphony, because it's like learning a new language, or sorry, it's like coming to a foreign country and not knowing the language, which is funny because it's an American symphony, so you should know the language, but nonetheless. So the next week came, and about 7 or 8 people raised their hand out of 65. Said, okay, well, let's see what happens. We run through it. It's not going too well. It's like, we have sectionals now. This is the focus for the sectionals, and all of their coaches just kind of, like, look, you have to listen to the music in order to get it. They came back from sectionals. We worked on the symphony. The next week, I asked the same question: who listened to 80% of the people's hands went up. It was just like, yeah, isn't it a cool piece? Like, oh, yeah, it is. Doesn't it make a little bit more sense now that you understand that, it's not the same as playing Beethoven or Mozart or Wagner. This is its own language. It's classical, it's jazz, it's a fusion of things, and you have to be able to figure out, and we're lucky, because not all of the recordings of William Grant Still symphonies, some of them are really great for just learning the notes. Actually, most of them are really just great for learning the notes. What's there, but you learning the style. And so, the second symphony has this beautiful recording of the Detroit Symphony from 1993. And you wouldn't have guessed that this was in, basically 99% white orchestra with an Estonian conductor. But they pulled just so much gorgeous expression out of this. It was like they actually, knew a little bit more about the language. They took time in certain places that were just not necessarily written in the score, but kind of implied. You get into trouble for implied things, and they're like, well, I don't see it. There's no retard there. It's implied. There's no piano there. Yeah, but listen to the harmony. It tells you to get softer. Like it's a weak chord, and so they did all this, in this recording. And so they had a good recording to go on. And the progress for the kids was astronomical from the sectionals week to that week. So part of my just main goal is like, we're going to figure out America as well. We're going to figure out our music. We're going to figure out as many different styles and stuff. So every concert is kind of a tasting ground of different things. And, this concert is honestly our most, hodgepodge of stuff they just haven't experienced. And then as the season goes on, it's a little bit like, all right, we have a little bit of it here, but it's, something else that you're more familiar with. And the final concert is like, and now you take all this stuff and you go out into the world and make of it what you shall. So diversifying the repertoire was, and it was number one on my agenda, but it was in the back of my head. I chose my favorite pieces. I chose pieces that I believed in, and I said, can we do it? And then there was almost a chance where we couldn't do the William Grant Still Symphony just because of the rental cost. It was almost $800. And my boss was like, no, this needs to happen. This needs to, because if we did the Hindenburg, it'd be about the same price. So we're going to do this still. That's an important piece, and we just need to have that there. So, but after that, oh gosh, there's so much. I mean, we have to go on tour. We have to, there's so many learning things for them. They just need to get, if we can figure out this rhythm thing, and just from the youth orchestra all the way to the Berlin Phil, that is the #1 causer of problems. For me, it is the number one cause of musical issues is an attention to internal time that is lax because we're used to playing pieces where the time is taken care of for us. Tchaikovsky, Romeo and Juliet. You're not gonna fudge with that, you know? But then when you get to like, you know, the still second movement, and you get these moments where you're supposed to stretch time, but internally you're not even counting because you're used to having it taken care of. You don't know what to manipulate. You know, if you're not keeping time, then you can't manipulate time. And so you know, so that thing we've just been attacking with full force. And hopefully we, you know, get the best counting group of students that we possibly can and send them to colleges with this like amazing sense of time so they can do all this cool musical stuff that just, you know, is so much harder to do when it's not there. This is another thing for like with jazz musicians, it blows my mind. And you, especially drummers, yeah.
Well, I think that was a great question to wrap up on.
Sweet.
Thank you for being here today. I know we all enjoyed the different topics we covered today.
Likewise.
So I just like to give one last round of applause. If anybody wants to contact you, what would be the best method?
Yeah, email's great. Reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Yeah, you know, you've got my number. So I think you've got my number. Do you have my number? Okay. Well, Holden, I'll send you my number. And then if anybody, you know, I'm around, but that's the thing. Like you'll any Philharmonic suite at about 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll probably be at Tapas. Getting an espresso, and then again at noon. So, you know, I'm very much available. So yeah, just shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever.
Thank you.
Of course. What do you all want to do with this? Like, no, I mean, like, with the, like, what do you hope to do at Eastman? Like, what is, you know, why have a BSU?
Well, the reason we carry it on is just because a lot of the programming done at Eastman has not really catered to Black musicians in the past. And I feel like the BSU is one of the main reasons that it's been uplifted recently.
Yeah, that's good.
Especially conversations like the one we just had.
Yeah.
Even, you know, Black American musics are not, there's no involvement, when they teach it here at Eastman, there's no involvement of Black people. It's a lot of Rochester, or a lot of the styles, you know, like sorry, you can record if you want to. Don't keep candid, but you know, I think it's